Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into another explainer, and we are unpacking something that is highly dense but honestly, absolutely fascinating. We're looking at the Strategic Implementation Guide for the incoming Director of Corporate Management at UN Habitat. Think of this as, well, basically the ultimate executive playbook for transforming a massive global institution. Let's get right into it.
Because it begs a pretty massive question, right? How exactly do you manage an organization that manages the world's cities? UN Habitat is literally the United Nations focal point for global urbanization. So you really have to wonder, how can one person possibly coordinate this incredibly complex web of headquarters, regional offices, country programs, and external partners? Like, how do you make sure the gears of a bureaucracy that size actually turn effectively to build sustainable cities?
Well, the answer, according to our source material, comes down to a very specific number: 50. The playbook outlines exactly 50 strategic points. And look, this isn't just some basic list of administrative chores. It's a comprehensive executive-level implementation framework. It really acts as an architect's blueprint for total organizational transformation, covering the whole shebang, from financial stewardship all the way to digital enablement. To make sense of those 50 points, we're going to follow a structured roadmap through the document's 6 core themes. We'll start with the mandate and the mission, then enabling impact and removing friction, the One UN Habitat blueprint, execution and the 100-day plan, people, culture, and change, and finally, transforming bureaucracy into impact.
So jumping right into Section 1, the mandate and the mission, setting the stage for global impact. The source makes it crystal clear right away that the corporate management division is definitely not just some sleepy administrative back office. It's the actual operational foundation that makes UN Habitat's global mandate deliverable in the real world. Its mandate is huge, spanning human resources, finance and budget, ICT support, procurement coordination, and strategic planning. It's like a giant puzzle, and all of these distinct pieces have to work in perfect synchronization to power the entire institution.
And that actually brings us to a really poignant quote from the text. It states that this position is uniquely placed to connect executive direction with the systems, people, resources, and controls that determine whether strategic commitments become reliable results. Essentially, the incoming D1 director has to bridge that crucial gap between a high-level vision and on-the-ground reality. It's way more than just following UN rules. It's about making sure that when leadership makes a promise, the actual systems are in place to make it happen.
Moving on to Section 2, enabling impact. Removing friction, the new philosophy. To actually succeed in this massive role, the director has to completely rethink the whole philosophy of corporate management. Think about the old way of doing things, viewing corporate services as isolated transactional gatekeepers. Bureaucrats who just stamp yes or no. The new way completely reimagines this. It sees corporate management as an integrated system of strategic enablement. The whole idea is to cut out avoidable friction so the teams on the ground can focus on actual urbanization outcomes instead of getting tangled in red tape.
Now, a totally crucial concept here is something the document calls proportionality. Basically, internal controls shouldn't be a one-size-fits-all roadblock. They need to respond to the actual level of risk. Yes, we absolutely want to protect the organization's integrity, for sure, but we can't do that by creating massive administrative delays that undermine the very programs we're trying to deliver. It's a super delicate but vital balance to strike.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 3, the One UN Habitat blueprint, breaking down silos.
To achieve that balance we just mentioned, the organization has to smash through its internal silos and operate as one unified entity. It requires deep structural integration. Just look at how this flows. Planning can't happen in a vacuum. It absolutely must connect to the budget. The budget must connect to the people you hire. Those people must connect to the capabilities they possess. And finally, those capabilities must connect directly to the processes you design. If even one of those links snaps, the whole engine starts sputtering.
And here's the thing, this integration isn't just for headquarters in Nairobi. The document delivers a massive reality check here. A corporate solution that cannot be applied in outposted offices cannot credibly be described as enterprise-wide. The One UN Habitat principle means whatever policies you invent have to work just as well out in the regional and country field offices as they do at HQ. No exceptions.
Okay, Section 4, Execution and the 100-day plan, the architecture of change.
So we have the theory and we have the blueprint, but how do you actually pull this off? This is where leadership theory hits the pavement. The guide lays out a highly disciplined, phased approach. You don't just kick the doors down and change everything on day one. Step 1 is a focused diagnostic to see where things really stand.
Step 2 is a 100-day stabilization period, basically stopping the bleeding on the most urgent weaknesses. And then, only after that's done do you move into Step 3, which is the actual structural, multi-year transformation.
That initial diagnostic phase, it's honestly kind of a detective story for the incoming executive. They have to actively hunt down the root causes of friction. This means mapping current arrangements, tracking performance variations, figuring out exactly where those recurring bottlenecks are hiding, and looking way past the visible symptoms to uncover what's really going on underneath. Plus, they've got to triangulate all this evidence across different locations to ensure they aren't just getting the HQ perspective.
Moving into Section 5, People, Culture, and Change, the Human Element.
Because at the end of the day, all this brilliant analysis and planning, it's totally useless without the right humans to execute it. The source has this incredible line: even well-written policies fail when ownership, incentives, capability, or follow-through are weak. Just let that sink in. You could literally have the most flawless digital system or the most elegantly drafted policy ever, but it will fail, guaranteed, if your staff don't have the skills to use it, the motivation to care, or if leadership drops the ball on follow-through. Building cultural credibility is completely non-negotiable.
To actually build that culture, the document leans heavily on core UN competencies, framing them as practical design principles for the executive. We're talking professionalism, requiring mastery and evidence, accountability for time and cost, real client orientation, empowering leadership, and finally, vision, meaning you can actually link high-level strategy down to everyday unit goals. A leader needs the guts to navigate some seriously tough trade-offs using these exact principles as their North Star.
And finally, Section 6, Transforming Bureaucracy into Impact, the Ultimate Legacy.
So if the director actually pulls off this multi-year roadmap, what's left behind? What is the legacy? Well, the playbook is incredibly pragmatic about this. It specifically says the objective is not administrative perfection. Honestly, administrative perfection is a myth anyway. The real goal is a demonstrably stronger capacity to deliver the mandate under real-world constraints. Because let's face it, the real world is messy. There's funding volatility, there are unexpected emergencies, and the organization has to be strong enough to handle them.
This kind of continuous improvement is kept alive by a really strict management rhythm, essentially a performance loop. It goes like this. Phase 1, solid evidence from operations prompts timely action. Phase 2, that action is strictly followed through to the end. And Phase 3, the lessons you learn from that action directly influence your next planning cycle. This bakes learning right into the institution's DNA, making sure progress sticks around long after those first 100 days, and honestly, long after the current leadership is out the door.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly exciting thought to chew on. We spent this explainer deep in the weeds of corporate management, operating models, and diagnostic baselines. But zoom out for a second. The implication here is massive. If a well-run internal organization is the engine, how much faster can a unified UN habitat build sustainable cities for the world? Mastering the bureaucracy literally translates to global impact. By tuning the engine and removing the friction, the folks on the ground get the support they need to actually shape the future of human settlements. Thanks for learning with me today, and as always, keep focusing on the big picture.